Welcome to the Boss Mode Podcast, where we discuss AI and the future of work. Welcome back to the Boss Mode Podcast. I'm your host, David Lee, together with my co-host, Dee Deng, who I'm just really happy that very early in the new year, I open up Instagram and I see Dee in a Hollywood movie. He's in like the remake of The Matrix. What's that all about, dude? Like you were getting your ass handed to you by Morpheus, which is like, if you're going to get your ass kicked by somebody, it's Morpheus.
So I figure, most everyone is going to be out partying, like counting down till midnight. I was in bed by like 10 p.m. Right? So I was fresh. I was fresh on like January 1. So I came into the office, and I thought, and I usually start my days at like 5:30 a.m. just because that's when my eyes naturally open wide. So I came in and I'm like, let's. I've been seeing a bunch of viral videos go around of these video and image models that people have been doing like spoof content for. I saw like the one with Naruto. I saw another one with like the Trump games and like John Cena was in it and stuff like that. And I went, I wonder what the models, I haven't played with video models in a minute. So I wonder what I can do with it. And it'll also give me a really awesome opportunity to try out voice, music, and video models all in the one thing. So made that thing that you're seeing on screen right now.
Love it.
So like
now,
music and Suno, I know you can't hear audio. Yeah, there we go with audio. If you want to start again, so that like the music design.
All right,
if you want to start again, the music design was in Suno. There we go.
Is this the beginning? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, and you've got the how-to.
The whole thing's AI. Yeah, so I put the how-to in there, but the whole thing is besides my own face, everything else was besides my own face and the sound effects, the gunshots, the rain, everything else was AI generated. So Suno for the music, and a bunch of image and video models because I wanted to try out different ones for all the videos. But it was super fun because I got to try. You get to see what models work for what, right? Like, and for the most part, like all the video models are Chinese models.
Okay. Yeah, I did hear really good things about the latest Chinese models on Higgs Field. Now, are you doing all of this inside of Higgs Field?
Yeah, so I do it inside of Higgs Field because Higgs Field has this offer right now where image generation is completely unlimited, doesn't count against your credits. So I can just keep going and going and going, and I was just logging everything. So in my Notion, I'm going, let's prompt it for this. Let's see what images come out. Don't like it, but let's log it anyway. Tweak the prompt, go again. So that way I do this with almost every single time that I explore models, just so that I can have an experimentation log and go like, okay, how do I go back to the previous thing?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, but some of them were like absolutely hilarious.
Which Higgs Field plan are you on?
I think I'm on the creator plan.
Okay. So I signed up for Higgs Field as well because we just hired someone at Vanka to work on video. And the role I described it as brand storyteller because I think it's more than just video. I invented a title. And one of the first things we did during the onboarding, I talked about the importance of using AI. And one of the things I loved about this candidate during the interview was that this candidate talked a lot about how she enjoys really diving into new areas new areas of video. So I was really looking at her portfolio, and her portfolio covers everything from like hand-drawn illustrations to vector illustrations to storyboarding to music selection to motion graphics to like real action, like a live action video, to like on and on and on and on. And it's like, and the one thing that was missing was AI, and I think part of that was because the whole token cost and everything. So one of the things that I thought would be compelling would be for her to start with doing some work inside of Higgs Field because the latest models really are good. They defy reality. And Adam Mosseri, on the CEO of Instagram, or is he the CEO of Instagram or the head of Instagram? Mosseri, and I'm going to take this share off for a second. Adam Mosseri says that in 2026, it will be really hard, or you just won't be able to tell when it comes to, is it authentic content? Is it like AI content? It's so merged that we've hit the visual singularity in 2026 already, where you just cannot tell that it's AI generated.
Now, a quick word from our sponsor. Bringing my vision into reality requires focus. But the reality for an entrepreneur is that there's just so much work to be done. Finance, customer support, and marketing. Vanka AI is the agentic co-founder that cuts the mundane out of the founder's day-to-day. If you're a founder or business operator who values your time, you really need to sign up right away at www.vanka.ai.
Yeah, I have I have friends in my DMs and my iMessage that would text me links to TikToks and be like, "Surely this is AI." And I'm like, "No, that's real. No, that's AI. No, that's AI. That's real."
You really do have to take a close look, though, especially with these kind of cutting edge Chinese models. I think the Chinese models are a little bit ahead of what we're seeing coming out of um, even Google at this point when it comes to video. And heck, like what was our first episode? We talked about that Chinese live commerce guy, live commerce influencer, who sold millions of dollars over like hours and hours of live streaming, where it wasn't him. He had an AI generated character sell on and on and on and on through live commerce. And like that's what it feels like decades ago now. But what was that? We've been doing this for probably 3 months now,
Yeah,
maybe longer.
absolutely. Yeah. And I think the thing that I learned, if I had to unpack what I learned from that firsthand experience, and I tried to put it into that Matrix video as well. It's one thing to go out there and bookmark and save all these posts around like, ooh, this nano banana prompt and that nano banana prompt. It's a completely different thing to go, let me have some type of hypothesis around, and that's the whole log your work thing, right? Like, what prompt structure which models favor what type of prompt structure? Which models are great for lip syncing versus which models are great for, like, if you see that kung fu shoot, that kung fu scene, so many of those shots look so kung fu. Like
Let's go back.
yeah. Once we get to the kung fu part, we can see that the part where, let's see.
I think it's in 5 seconds or so.
I love how the internet's just like, oh my God,
Oh,
this
by
is
the way,
forever. This is taking
we've got Black Jesus with basketball, and
right.
now we've got White Morpheus.
So you see that thing going on, all that really dynamic camera movement and the handheld stuff. One model
Yep.
does great, the other models look horrible. So
Okay.
if you try the same thing, like this shot, for example, another model did great. The model that I used for the kung fu stuff did horrible. It started doing some Power Ranger, super cheesy, like the bullets turned into some type of Japanese ad. It added its own dialogue when I didn't ask for it. So, and then this one right here where I got Christopher Walken telling us about AI. That's a completely different model yet again, because the Kung Fu one, actually, yeah, the Kung Fu one didn't do that good of a job. Like his face
So
just looked
which
weird.
model is the right model for White Morpheus going at it with Asian Neo?
That was definitely Kling.
That
So
was Kling.
Kling
Okay.
took it out. Yeah, Kling took it out for sure.
Now,
Uh,
so that the martial arts fight scene was Kling. The bullet time where or the bullets coming at you very slowly in bullet time. Which model was that?
that was a very, very close tie between Seadance 1.5 Pro and Kling.
Okay.
Um, and then you're effectively just spamming generations until what one thing I found was, once you get the prompt, the direction of the shot good enough, and the first generation that comes out, you go, okay, that's pretty close, but I'm not quite happy with it. Rerolls are your friend. So just reroll again and see whether the cluster of, so I cluster like 4 rerolls. So same prompt, just hit regenerate, right? Just hit generate 4 times just to see what comes out for that type of randomness, because a different seed is applied for each generation. So yeah, it's just super fun. And then, tried VO3 in there. You can't use Sora 2 because Sora 2 doesn't allow for human likeness unless you have a cameo, all those nuances. So you're really restricted to only a few models. But once you got that, I'm walking away from this with so much more efficiency now, because I go, oh, if it's going to be lip sync and I need the mouth to look real, where there is articulation of certain words, like the plosives, for example, um, I'm going to use Seadance. If I need more action or more moving shots, I'm going to use Kling.
Yeah.
And then if I use VO, I need a whole other different nuance, because I can give it a reference image as a starting frame or a reference image as an ingredient, and it's going to interact with that image to video very different. So I figure, what can I do in 24 hours? Or I didn't sit there for 24 hours, but within a span of a day, very limited amount of time, because damn full-time job. But what can I do? So came up with that. Went down the rabbit hole, and more rabbit holes to come, I think.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. I love to see how you, as the CEO of a business that's driving like tens of millions, hundreds of millions, or like for your customers, like this is hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue that you're driving for them, right? And maybe more, as it is in billions, but regardless, the distinction aside, um, you are taking the time still to build some of these automations yourselves. And it's so much more powerful when it comes from the CEO, because you're able to understand the entire context and scope and intent of your business. And that's something that nobody has a better grasp of than you. And so your experimentation in AI is exactly what I think CEOs and or people that are working directly with CEOs need to be doing. So if you're out there as a young person or someone mid-career or even senior, and you want to be closer to the action, closer to the corner office, or to be in the corner office, I think experimenting with these AI tools is absolutely critical.
And then now I can turn that 2 things. First of all, now I have a walkthrough and a user guide that I can hand over to anyone on my team, right? The literal people will watch that and go, oh, he made a trailer. Cool. How does that apply to, branded content or any type of ad content? Those are literal people. However, if now that I have an understanding of those models, and because I hand prompted them as opposed to try to automate them first and foremost, my next step is, one, I can go be the user guide for my team to go, here are the nuances, here's how you should experiment. And then as you come up with the different horrible looking generations, like that backflip one, for example, you should see the hilarious I mean, I can screen share and show you later, but some of those backflips, you're going, he's got 12 legs now and he's floating in the air. Like, it's just bad, right? And instead of them getting disheartened, I can go, okay, persevere here or change here, right? Like pivot or persevere. So I've got that. Secondarily, now that the hand prompting is done, I can turn that into the team, and I can turn that into workflows. So we can then go, well, if there's a scene we want to replicate, for example, a winning ad or a winning concept or a winning back, like just some type of creative that we go, we want to replicate this and create variations. Because I've done the manual work, I know now I have the bones to be able to go, here's a 1-click workflow or like a 4-click workflow that you put these ingredients in, and you've got 20 different iterations that look creatively somewhat visually different to then be able to deploy into the realm of content, right? Whether that's paid content or organic content. And that part's fun. Yeah, so it's a good old time, man.
Geez. Now, how many iterations do you think you went through for So first, how many prompts did you need to do? Like how many generations? And within each kind of prompt family, how deep did you go with like regenerations or like kind of redoing?
Um, it really was roll of the dice. So uh, for some of them, I got it straight away. And as a general rule, I typically go clusters of 3 or 4. Right. I'll go with the first, just from a time perspective, also, because it takes time to generate. You got to sit there and just wait, right? You hit one button and you got to sit there and let the model do its thing. And you're kind of beholden to whatever the platform, however fast the generation it gives it to you. So sometimes for images, you would think video would take longer, but that's not the case at all. Nano Banana Pro, for example, I might sit there, hit a button, and wait for 6 minutes for an image to come out.
Wow.
So, I can't quite cognitively switch to some other work and then come back, because I kind of have to stay locked in to remember what shot, what scene I'm in. So you just kind of got to sit there. So I figure, wait a second, if I just hit 4, at least they'll all take around the same time. So I just went with that. And again, it's unlimited, so 4 is a good enough amount of time. Let's see, this might completely blow up in my face, but let's go window and let me max this guy out. So you can see some of the hilarity, right? Like, no, this one's not the funny one. Where are the funny ones at? But you can see, like, this one I had to do a lot of generations because it was very nuanced. The one, I needed it to be Kim Kardashian, Tilda Swinton, Taylor Swift. I wanted them to look right. I wanted them to look kind of synchronized, and I needed the mouth to look. And you won't be able to hear audio because I don't. This is a different browser altogether. But you see how the lip just does not sell it. Actually, let me open this. Let me do this. Sorry, guys. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute so I can open this in a proper tab where you guys can hear audio, because once you hear the audio
Now,
with the
as you're pulling
video.
that up, I want to add a comment here, which I think bears noting. We've had on this podcast Karsten Weingart, who is prolific, who has been prolific as a director of high production value videos, um, and Karsten, with all of that experience, hands on directing videos. He's able to use AI tools in Higgs Field, and he's done some fantastic breakdowns to produce some phenomenal work. And I think that his experience being in that director's chair matters. And in his own words, he says, same thing, different chair, where instead of going through these expensive, massive iterations with these big sets and lots of people and lots of time, you're able to do something very similar, or well, something different that is also valuable, sitting down in front of a computer working with these AI tools. And I think that that's incredibly empowering for an individual with that skill set. But what's really interesting here is that, Dee, you're a CEO of a digital marketing agency specializing in direct to consumer. So, yes, you know a lot about video because video is important to advertising and marketing and brand storytelling. But that's not what you do day in, day out. It's like, sure, you've been around video for a long time, but it's not like the thing that you do every
Mm.
single day. Like you're not inside of Adobe Premiere, you're not inside of Adobe After Effects, you're not going around with like a red camera. You're CEOing, you're boss moding, and yet you're able to use these tools to great effect. So your journey here, what you're showing us, is tremendously valuable because you are showing everybody out there, if you're reasonably intelligent and you persist and you have this creative vision in your mind, you're able to execute and do tremendous things with generative AI today.
And it's so fun, man. Like, it, whether it's this, or whether it's jumping into Claude Code, or whether it's going into Google AI Studio and just using natural language to prompt out like web apps. This is all stuff that, just isn't, it's a new frontier. It's so
Yeah.
fun. You get to learn. And I guess that is my superpower. If there's anything, it's the fact that I enjoy starting at zero with zero knowledge and just learning new things, which is exactly why I have that Japanese calligraphy behind me, the shuhari, which is the pathway to mastery. You start as a worm and you go into mastery to realize that you're just a worm. But I mean, let's look at some hilarity, okay? Like, so the lip, right? So you can see in
Let's see that
here
again.
that's Kling 2.6, and this is me being pedantic, right? Because every shot has to sell. You can't. I was trying to make sure that I don't pull people out of the illusion. So
Yeah, let's see that one more time.
even though it's 2 seconds, you can see
Yeah.
how it just like this plastic. And this, by the way, the whole let's see one more time, that's what I had to do. I had to sit there and watch it and go, which ones, and you can see some that I heart here and I heart here. And I go, okay, there is some something with that shot that it's possibly usable. And then you've got some really funny ones where it just starts prompting some weird shit. Where are we? Or it starts
And
generating some weird stuff.
this level of really analyzing the delivery is the kind of thing that I imagine the Wachowski brothers were doing when they were originally filming The Matrix. And so this level of
Sure.
attention to detail, same thing, different chair.
I mean, it's no different to this is what happens on a movie set, right? Like that it's no different to getting the actor to go, all right, let's everyone back to first positions, please. Let's start the scene again. More emotion, less emotion, go louder here, move, whatever it takes to get that shot. That's why movies take so long. Because you got to reset to first. And, like if an actor gets splashed with water, to reset to first, you've got to get the costume to be not water again and then splash them water again. So there's all that. So let's see this one. You can see, it's so obvious. And the hand is stuck here. So I didn't like that. They didn't move. There was no synchronicity. I wanted these two.
So these are pretty good though. These are very good, but I see what you're saying.
Which is exactly what you would say as a director to the actors too, when you're on set for the 16th time. You're like, guys, no. The first 16 are really good, but I think we got a little more in us. So, and that's the beautiful thing about doing this, that your actors aren't going to get sick of you to be like, are you fucking serious, man? It's been like 60 takes. Surely you got one that's usable for the editors. So we've got that. Here's where the hilarity is. All right. Here we go.
Bring us do you have like an octopus effect happening?
Oh man, I've got all kinds.
How many legs do you have? Okay, well, I did not see
didn't
your
ask
third
it
leg in
for
that one.
didn't ask for focus on whatever. I've had some earlier. I was jumping around a little bit here. Let's go back to the earlier ones, because the earlier ones that's where the hilarity is. Action is the man in white backflips over the man in black. I tried to force it in a wide arc, right? Camera is static, slow motion. So, okay,
Now,
wide
this
arc.
reminds me of some of those like you just fall to the ground.
So you see it, and then my head goes from there to there. You've got that going on. So you just got to sit here and go, okay, it understood the wide arc. Let's go again. So it's partly entertaining too, because you're just sitting here going like, oh man, this is never going to see the light of day.
Now, do you know those old Chinese martial arts movies where it's from like hundreds of years ago, and they're like period martial arts movies. And the martial arts, or even in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, in that one, the martial artists, they would like float through the sky. It was that for a moment, and then we had the hilarity of you landing on your face and then getting two faces.
This kind of stuff. So, Seadance 1.5.
I wonder if there is a bias, like these are Chinese models, right? And that motion where they're kind of floating through the air, it's like gracefully until it ends in hilarity. Because these are Chinese models, I imagine the martial arts scenes are trained on a lot of these movies, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So maybe that's why the motion was like that.
Possible, yeah.
Is
I mean,
there
very
a
possibly
reference you
so.
can share? Is there a reference you can share, giving a reference on the motion to a specific movie in order to get that same effect? Like, could you say, make the motion, or do slow motion as it was done in The Matrix in this scene?
Yeah, I didn't try that. I really should have tried that. But this is the one where out of nowhere, third leg.
Oh, there's your third leg. Dude, we've got to NSFW this.
Yeah, totally. So that's Seadance, and then you go farther up, and I go, okay, let's change up the model, and let's use Kling instead. So where's the candidate that I ended up using?
Now,
So this
give
is
me a
Kling
warning. If this one
2.6,
does this one have a third leg as well? Because if so, we need to censor this.
right? But these guys, a lot more. This is so this ended up being the shot, right? Without the wide arc, I just used a different model. So like there was so much going on, and then you've got me trying Seadance here, where it looks cartoonish almost, right? Which is also Chinese model. Both of these models are Chinese models, by the way.
I wonder if that text is. It'd be interesting to see what this says, if anything.
See what says?
There's a poster there on the left.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Let's ask Rock. I screenshotted it and pasted it and says, what does this say
nice.
in English, if anything? This is a piece of Japanese calligraphy on a hanging scroll. The large central characters read, and I don't speak Japanese, so please forgive me, Musuko B. But this appears to be a stylized or artistic rendering of Musuko Sho or something like that. The common idiomatic phrase in Japanese martial arts, especially kendo and sometimes referenced in other contexts, is musuko no kachi. Apologies for my terrible pronunciation and my mangling, which translates to English as victory without speed. So it looks like they might have,
Wow.
yeah. Well, it looks okay. So in English, it would be victory without speed. Now, this is according to Grok, not according to a Japanese native speaker. So take that with a grain of salt or a shaker full of ice.
Right. So there you go, man. That's the gist of it.
I love how you got yourself in those sunglasses too.
Yeah, but I mean, look, right? It's going again, because there are so many faces to like this one, for example, got really confused.
Oh, you got like Christopher Walken.
Yeah,
The one on the right is like you and Christopher Walken combined.
Right. Exactly.
Yep. I think I remember reading somewhere that in The Matrix, during the filming, like the kind of problem solving that a director on set in a constrained
Way
environment
worse.
needs to do.
Way worse.
Right. But it's that kind of creative problem solving that you're also doing here inside of Higgs Field. Now, it got to the
Yes.
point that I think in that scene where there was a reflection of the face, I think they had to like cover the camera with like a coat or something in order to
all that stuff,
because it was always showing up in the reflection on the doorknob, or was it was it the doorknob or the glasses?
Right. All that stuff. Like it's movie magic is so hard to make that this is as taxing as it. Whoever does this at their laptop, we have it so easy because when you're on set, every minute that goes by is so expensive because you've got a horde of people who are just waiting there. You got people from like, the lighting department, sound, special effects, in-camera effects, all those, the actors, the talent, all those people, every minute that goes by that you're not like putting stuff out, you're just burning money. And the suits show up and you're just like, oh God,
Yeah.
what do you have to show up today?
So if everything is produced inefficiently, if Hollywood was forced to produce everything inefficiently, at some point Hollywood would no longer be able to afford to produce content, which would kill the LA area film industry, right? So and then the argument there is like people are using shovels to dig ditches, let's say, right? Somebody comes along and says, let's use an excavator, and the counter argument, the outrage is, well, if we use these excavators, these machines, then these people are all going to lose jobs. And then the counter argument to that is, well, following that logic, if the priority here is jobs, then let's take away their shovels and give them spoons. That way we need to hire 500x more people.
Wow.
Right? And I'll
Holy shit,
credit
that's deep.
the Muskinator with that one. But it makes so much sense. And so what happens then? And a couple of dimensions to this, and the second, third order effects that I think are really important to consider. When the expert director, like a Karsten Weingart, is able to use these tools, and also when a kind of expert adjacent individual like yourself, like you've been around these people, you've worked with these people, you've hired these people who produce these videos, high production value, and down to like these very direct response style ads as well. You've been around them, and so you're able to do some degree of directing this work as well with AI. So these two kind of personas, when these people are able to create with velocity, take their vision and express it with velocity, and with a much lower cost per unit of creation. What's happening is you're able to express yourself more quickly. That's a beautiful thing. Now,
Mm.
I get that there's a cost to human jobs, and what does that mean? People in the creative industry are being impacted. And I had a friend of mine who does cosplay. Her and her husband, her and her significant other. They put in a great amount of work. They buy these costumes. They don't just buy the costumes. They create the costumes. They they do the makeup and the photo shoots and everything. And a lot of hard work goes into producing a single piece of content. So you're looking at probably months of work full time in order to produce a single photo shoot, and AI is replicating it. So there's some frustration there, and I get that. That's very real. But I believe in her significant others. Her significant other. I think that she will continue to produce very compelling content. She loves doing it, and so I expect she'll continue. I imagine she'd continue. Now, it still stings though, being directly impacted in that way, and so I'm sure there's some well-founded resentment from the individual level. I don't dispute that, but what I do think is that at large, what we're actually seeing happening is that the very best will find a way to continue, one, but also eventually, and probably not too far from now, the fact that there is human provenance in her work in cosplay will be valued greater than the freely available digital only version of it. Where there is a human component, people will value it more. Where you can meet the actors or the creators in
Hmm.
person,
Hmm.
it's more valuable. People go to concerts for a reason. So I don't think that that industry will die. I think that those who are truly committed, like let's call it the top 1%, they'll continue having the opportunity. And I believe they'll probably become much more prosperous and rewarded for that work. But the 99%, or maybe it's 50%, I don't know what the number is, but some very large proportion of the creators, yes, they will be impacted by this because it is good for the person with the vision to be able to express themselves with velocity.
Yeah, and not only express themselves with velocity. If we think about the way the industry moves, and how, let's look at the flip side. Let's talk about job opportunity, right? So, like we said, in on any movie set, even on any like large scale production, photo production, you got a ton of people on there, a ton of people, right? From people in front of the camera to behind the camera to the things surrounding the camera, all the way to craft services, the ones that pull out the trestle tables and the plastic chairs and the catering, right? All the way through the costume, set design, etc. Now, at some point in my life, I was an aspiring filmmaker. And don't forget, like, I didn't go to school for advertising. I didn't go to school. I went to film school.
Okay.
I don't have a business degree. I have, none of that. I went to film school. And before that, I worked in reality television. So I've been physically working as one of the people in the cog of that big machine. Right. And so point being, but I was an aspiring filmmaker, and the
And so you were one
biggest
of the you were one of the kind of
production office
100
people,
to two,
right?
yeah, 100 to
Right.
2,000 people working on a production.
Right, totally. Of various different kinds, from short films all the way through to reality TV shows like The Contender, Mark Burnett production, right? They do The Survivor, Contender,
No,
all those.
is that range that I shared directionally correct when I say like a single production? Is it somewhere in the range of 100 to 2,000 people? Like big Hollywood blockbuster, 2,000 people, I think is probably
Sure,
directionally correct.
because you got
But something
production, you
smaller is
got
probably 100.
you got pre-production, you got production, you got post as well,
Yeah,
right? So I imagine like again, the movie isn't done on the last day when everyone's like, okay, when we're wrapped. That's a wrap party for production. Then the whole swath of SFX and VFX and editors and all those people come in, and directors have to sit in there and like, what do we leave on the chopping room, the chopping block and the editing floor. Now, um, speaking about job opportunity for anyone who is an aspiring filmmaker, now the biggest barrier to entry up until the advent of AI video was cost. Indie films
yeah,
were so difficult to make. You had to do like an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter, and you had to do your storyboards and put a bunch of content together, or beg a whole bunch of friends to do stuff for free. And a short film takes even if it's a 10-minute short film, that's, I've done 10-minute short films. Minimally, it takes 2 weeks. If you're really cranking, you can do it within 1 week, but you've got kind of industry safety standards also, like 10-hour shooting days. You got a certain amount of turnaround time. You can't push the crew all the way through because you're just liable for bad stuff to happen, even without a union. Um, Now you can proof of concept or put together a short film, laptop, one subscription, you're pretty much good to go. Or if maybe a handful of subscriptions, you're pretty much good to go. And that could get you the foot in the door to actually have, like Netflix isn't going all in. You're not seeing press releases really going, we're going all in AI. But they are looking for fresh talent, new directors, the next Duffy brothers, and all those people. So from a job opportunity standpoint, this thing is awesome.
yeah, yeah,
This thing is awesome for anyone who wraps their head around it and goes, you know what? I'm going to I'm going to do some spec ads, some spec content for brands who need a content engine. And I'm going to go out there and get that going.
yeah.
See whether they're going to hire me um, to create whether to do it for a project or whether to do it for a campaign or whether to do it as a retainer. So it opens up so many doors. My God.
Yep, absolutely. I think that this tracks with what I view to be happening in the industry, in employment at large, the employment economy at large. We're seeing, well, set employment aside, what I see happening in uh, industry at large, the atomization of the economy. So no longer are we reliant on these massive companies that are in the case of like a Tesla or on Nvidia or these $1 trillion plus or minus kind of range companies, or these hundreds of billions of dollars companies, or companies worth tens of billions of dollars. Like there are a fairly small number of companies that control a lot of the economy. And I think that, and they drive cultural trends. Um, I think what is clearly ahead of us is instead of this monolithic version of power and economic concentration, we are moving to an atomization where it's the individual and very small teams who don't need $100 million to produce a movie anymore. They're probably going to need tens of thousands of dollars, maybe thousands. That day is probably very close to here, if not already, with the slate of technologies that are the foundational the models that are built into Higgs Field today.
Yeah, there are several AI film festivals going around right now. So, there's clearly a group of people organizing and leaning into what this change means for them, their jobs, their calling. Most people, I guess, filmmakers aren't that dissimilar in a lot of ways to musicians. Like they feel it as a calling, not necessarily as like a job per se. They have that need and they almost self-identify. It almost becomes their entire identity.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's wild. And then, like Suno, that's a whole other thing. Like everything that all that music track, that was all Suno.
Well, that's amazing.
And that was 2 prompts. I got so lucky. I just went, hey Gemini, I need a kind of sinister, dark, looming soundtrack. I don't know how to describe it, but it needs to have some violin, and push the beat. I forget what the prompt was, but that was it. And I went to go ask Gemini for it. And I said, I need to generate this in Suno. Give me a prompt. I started with that prompt, took that, threw it into Suno. And Suno, I don't know how they're doing it. They're probably very well capitalized, but on a free account, you get 50 credits a day. And a
Okay.
song only takes like, I forget, like 5 credits, 10 credits. So you can generate like 4 tracks a day.
Jeez.
And that was it. Those were 2 different Suno tracks, or 2 different Suno tracks, which I merged together because they sound similar enough. And then the last one was that whole, very slow violin that was also Suno. Then that was it. And that's my little
2026 is
thing.
2026 clearly is the year of the atomization of success, which means like no matter how small of a unit you or your team is, the scale of your success is not correlated. Like you could be a one-man
Right.
shop. You could be a
Completely
one-man
decoupled.
D
Yeah.
and produce that incredible video where now you're starring in an impressive production. And this wasn't AI slop where you just kind of one shot a prompt or like go through a few versions or ask it to do all the work for you. You put in a hell of a lot of work. So if there are any haters out there, sit your ass down because Dee worked for this. This is not just some easy walk in the park. I prompted it and it just did all the work for me. And woo, that's great. No, you spent hours and hours and hours. And I get it. The same thing took probably hundreds of thousands of man hours. But the distinction here is that not everybody gets funded. And is it really is expressing your vision really something that should be restricted to people that are able to pull together tens of millions of dollars? No, absolutely not.
Here's the funny thing. I've, in my 40 something years of life, I've worked in filmmaking. I've worked in in kitchens, right? In hospitality. And now I work in advertising. The one thing that I've learned as a common thread throughout is the end consumer does not care. Or say another way, the end consumer, it is completely irrelevant to their experience what happens on set or in the kitchen. What they care about is what lands on their table or what lands on screen in the moment of them consuming it. They might care about the ingredients. Oh, this is, farm to fork, or whatever they call that, paddock to plate. They might care about that part, but your kitchen could be complete chaos, or the set. Like you could have had a 2001 Odyssey where actors were getting abused and famously, like, all that kind of bad stuff happening, but it could still be called an epic because the point I'm trying to make here is the consumer, all they care about is themselves. Is it entertaining? Did it make me feel something? Was there some kind of wow? Did I learn something? Like that's all they care about. How it got made and how it got put together, while it might be cool, the behind the scenes, the DVD extras where you get to see all that stuff, that might be cool, but that's a far secondary to the piece where, hey, is this novel? Is this fun? Does the consumer, does it entertain them? right? So I went through this entire exercise. The end product for me wasn't what I put out. What I put out was the incidental. The end product for me is, okay, now I know, like, scene replication, the movie just happened to be the excuse for scene replication. But now, an above the line high production ad, say for example, just what's coming top of mind for me, for an airline, for Balenciaga, for Louis Vuitton, for any of those brands. Now I know the how the tools kind of work, the pliability of it, where it stretches, where it, like, where I go. I didn't try to push that hard enough. So now I can impart that to the team. That's the real stuff in there. And for it to not, to your point, for it to not come across with the slop, how many generations do I have to, how pedantic do I have to be? Is that lip sync the best that it can be? And is that the good enough? Or if I'm if I'm the brand manager for an airline or for, a luxury brand, will that make me go, nah, not this crew. I'm going to find someone else, because they let that take be the take that they chose to go into the cut. So, oh my God, just what a fun way to start the year, just to sit there and look at crazy, stupid backflips. But at the end of the day, go, can I make this almost like for like? Can I make this, because how often do we hear, does anyone in filmmaking, in advertising, and any of the creative arts work with a client who typically does not come from the creative arts, who does not appreciate your work, and they go, yeah, I like your work, but I want you to make an ad that kind of looks like this. That's what they always do. They go, oh, I like this ad. Okay, cool. Now, if you know the tools, you can kind of give them a bit of that through replication, right? And through a bit of this, a bit of that, working with and put that in, working with LLMs or working with all these AI models, to put that in front of the client to go, something like this. Oh, no, not quite, not really. Refine. That refine process is so much faster and cheaper now, instead of going out, getting actors, getting talent in front of the camera, doing all that, shooting it, and then going something like this, and the person going, no, 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 you're way off base.
Yeah, and by the way,
Oh,
if a client, like, if you deliver the storyboard, or the concept, the storyboard, like the low fidelity version of it, or the mid-fi version of it, and then you have your production day, and because production day is now, you're bringing in people, right, who are scheduled, and if these people are working they're probably doing multiple projects over the course of a year. You slot, say you scored, say you get Sydney Sweeney. Uh, well, your production day with Sydney Sweeney is your production day. If you need to do a reshoot, maybe you worked it into your contract. Probably you didn't, because she's really expensive right now. Um, shit out of luck. So if the client says, actually, I rather the blue jeans were kind of a little bit more stonewashed or something, more faded. Uh, good luck. Good luck.
yeah,
So
yeah,
what this means
absolutely.
is, we are accepting compromise far too often, where the client has this amorphous vision in their mind, and then it crystallizes um, in terms of what the vision was not when they see what was actually produced. Then there's dissatisfaction. And what do you do? Do you spend another $100 million, or $50 million, or $10 million, or $1 million? Probably not. You say, yeah, okay, I'll take it the way it is.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and
And,
sometimes you get lucky, and
this,
it still works out, even though you don't like, if the client was dissatisfied, in the case of the Great Jeans video.
right, 100%. And that's the, anyway, just a really fun exercise, going down the rabbit hole, more rabbit holes to come, uh, after this, because now what I'm going to try to do is go, what kind of workflows can come out of this? So what
I
kind
love.
of,
Oh, no, sorry, go on.
what kind of, what kind of 2-click workflows where it's a pipeline, upload an image, tweak the prompt a little bit, and you got the variations coming out, so that way it becomes a force multiplier for that whole thing that you're talking about, small team, big output.
Yeah. Geez. Dee, I gotta say, whenever you come back from we hop into a podcast after you have spent a couple of days diving deep into the use of AI to express yourself, you've got this different glow, this different aura around you. You're like, you're just happier. You're more fulfilled. It's
It's
really
the
good to
learning
see.
something, yeah, it's the learning something new thing, right? Because it's that has always been it's a blessing and a curse, because then I'm always chasing the dopamine hit of learning something new, and if I don't know how to temper that with follow through and actually deploy it to something that can be for production, then I'm constantly just learning something new, right? It's
I
that kind
wonder,
of learner's dilemma.
is it satisfaction derived from learning in and of itself? Like if you learn a new kind of way of doing a quadratic equation, for example, is that something that would also give you this same dopamine hit, or is it that you traveled this path fraught with failure throughout, and then you created something that you did. Like, yeah, sure, AI did a lot of heavy lifting, replaced the work of many people, but you did the visioning, you did the expressing, you did the the prompting of others. It's just that in this case, the others is AI. So you
Right.
created something.
Yeah. And by and large, that's the um, most of the time creation is learning in its like actual truest form, right? Like
Ah,
the way that I define learning, and I'm on my team's ass about this all the time. Learning isn't the consumption of information. The consumption of information is the beginning of it. Learning is the ability to replicate a move. That's when you know I've truly learned this thing. So when when you say I've learned how to drive a car, it's not because you watched 1,000 hours of YouTube of how to drive a car. You've learned it when you can actually drive the car. So when I say
yeah,
learning a new thing, now I can manipulate the tool and make things out of it. Now I can't N8N, all the different models in Higgs Field, Cloud Code, whatever it might be. Um, and part the doing of the thing
yeah,
completes the learning. You can go, okay, I can confirm that I can actually do this thing. I learned how to cook this thing means I made the dish and it tasted pretty okay.
yeah. Fantastic. I love the way
And
you put that.
that's the dopamine hit.
Because you're
That's
also
the
learning
place.
the impact of the thing on the world around you, and back the impact back to you, and it has to be
There you
done,
go.
like implemented.
Right. And that's why I posted the video, because I needed some type of feedback loop to know whether the thing that I learned how to make and made, I needed to know where it stood in the eyes of others. Right? Because you do a painting, you can stare at it yourself, or you can put it at a, like, I don't know, put it at a train station and see whether it stops people in their tracks, or people kind of look at it a little bit, or just walk by. Now there's a feedback loop, which gives me data for my next go around. So if I put this thing out there and it got 0 views and hardly any like no interaction whatsoever, I go, okay, clearly now that's my data point to go back and do something with it, right? So just like this conversation right now, just like the N8N workflow that I showed you earlier, I need anyone that's doing this type of stuff needs that feedback loop. I guess for anyone that's looking to create, it's one thing to create and then keep in a room and never share it with the world, which is such a
Yeah,
shame, for fear of judgment, for fear of failure, whatever way that your brain feeds you failure. But once you put it out there, now you've got feedback. That becomes a really valuable thing for you to take that next step, which is the next iteration of your thing. And because the cost is so low, imagine if you had to do the matrix and then get feedback and have to redo your next iteration of the matrix because that wasn't good enough. It's so expensive.
yeah. Like $100 million
This
expensive.
right. Within 48 hours, I've managed to put this together. I've got immediate feedback loops because I try a prompt, I see it, I have my personal take on it. But now because I put out the work, I've got an external feedback loop as well of how other people perceive it and whether they're getting value from it. Okay, next go around, I've got all this data to be able to use,
Yeah.
which, you know, my discipline of digital advertising really taught me. You need that feedback loop. You need the data.
You raise a really interesting point, and in the context of movies in particular, The Matrix, by the way, $63 million to $65 million budget. So a reshoot wouldn't have been 100 million unless you get James Cameron-esque.
Sure.
So let's say it would be a reshoot of sections of it might cost you tens of millions of dollars, right? But that's still a lot of money. Um, I would actually point to the fact that the movies that do well commercially actually do tend to get a reshoot opportunity. And those are the sequels, right? Like there's Godfather 1, Godfather 2, Godfather 3. It's like there's more of the story to tell that I couldn't fit into the first, or there's more to the world
A
building that I'd like
continuation.
there.
Yeah.
Or I just want another shot at it. I wish I could have cast this other guy instead of Dwayne Johnson. I wish I got Kevin Hart instead. Said no one ever. Sorry, Kevin. I can say that because I think there's very little chance of Kevin Hart hearing that, getting upset, and coming after me and throwing a right hook at
Hey,
me.
as long
And
as it
even
ain't
if he
Will
did,
Smith,
I
because
think
you
I could
did.
take it.
As long as it ain't Will Smith, because he'll smack the heck out of you.
So, but my point here is that the guys who fail are the ones that really should have another shot at learning from that failure, iterating, and making the next version. But because the stakes are so high in movie production, the guys that fail probably don't get another shot.
Yeah.
And which world would you want to live in? The world where the guys that try and fail don't get another shot, or the world where the ones who fail do get another shot? I personally, because of the idea that I hold very dear to, like it's fundamental to my approach to creating, is fall down 7 times, stand up 8. So you fail and learn. That is learning.
I don't know how many. Were you ever a video games guy?
A little bit. I mean, yeah, Mortal Kombat,
So,
but it was never like my
right.
obsession.
Sure, right. But you play video games. You know, like remember like back when like it was Sega, um, and games like that where you would find the cheat code, right,
Yeah.
left, up, down, ABC, and you have now you have like infinite lives. You play the game so differently when you have infinite lives. You still want to win, but it's so much more liberating because it's not like my final life. You know, it's not like a Souls like game where if you get killed, you start from the very beginning of the entire level, right? You play very differently there too. It might be more conservative, but this is infinite lives. You really get to play the video game with almost like, oh my God, okay. Like, you know, when you play GTA, for example, you don't run around and try to preserve you blowing stuff up. It doesn't matter if you trying crazy things, and if you splat on the ground, you just regenerate at the start of your last save point and get to go again. It's no thing. It's not a thing in your head. This is exactly the same. I'm just sitting there like, okay, it didn't work. Try again. Didn't work. Try. Wow, this is cool. Infinite lives. And it's quite deliberately infinite lives because there is an unlimited mode for image generation in the Higgs field.
AI Higgs field is to creativity what infinite lives is to video games.
Yeah,
You
for
heard it here,
sure.
and that makes a lot of sense. I do think that constraints matter, but uh, that's not all that matters. And the opportunity to uh, experiment free of constraints is
Right.
also a mode that has validity.
Right. The romantic, like, again, I cut my teeth in the film industry. I watched that industry grapple with digital cinema. I have still a DVD in my home of Kodak, a promo video of Kodak, and why the entire DVD is dedicated to. It's like a 60-minute DVD dedicated to why film is still superior to digital cinema. that DVD came out around the same time when the 5D Mark II came out, right?
It's interesting you raised this because recently I got into vintage audio. So my office is on the second floor of Hotel Audio. It is just beautiful downstairs. Up here, it's like a construction site, but downstairs they've got this gorgeous space. It's mid-century, beautiful rugs, beautiful artwork, these beautiful sound panels, and gorgeous turntables and receivers and speakers. It's just great. Um, and so I recently kind of caved and got a turntable and some M&K speakers, which sound gorgeous, um, as well as a nice vintage receiver. And it strikes me that for half the cost, I could have gotten an equivalent, probably technically superior, or for
Sure.
a little bit less than that cost, I could have gotten a modern setup, right? But there's a premium now on this vintage stuff because
Hmm.
there are the imperfections of it. There's
Hmm.
something different. There's like something that feels like there's a human in there, and so I you feel the craftsmanship as well because things were just built differently. Um, I I actually spent some time talking to the owners, Brian and Brian, fantastic guys. If you guys want vintage audio, which I think is a fantastic hobby to get into, check out holthill.com, HOLTHILL, and visit them in Andover, Massachusetts, or you can buy from them online. They're shipping all over the world, to Norway, to Singapore, to just Australia, and certainly across the U.S. Um, and it strikes me that with vintage audio, what we're getting is this human provenance. It just, and this is why I think it's probably valued a little bit more. And the same thing applies to all other industries. So um, that human connection, it's valuable, and I think that's going to become increasingly premium. And then for most people, most use cases, you get this technically phenomenal sound, very good, certainly more than adequate uh, quality of product, whether it's your AI generated content on Instagram that Mosseri is saying is just going to be indistinguishable in 2026 because heck, it already is. You've shown that to be true. It's just that not as many people are embracing it yet. But 2026 is the year that that's going to explode, where most people, in most cases, will be consuming AI generated content. Uh, and some people who value and are willing to pay cold, hard dollars, they will consume content with human provenance.
Yeah. It's gonna be. I'm so excited for this year. Uh, because this time last year, I was wowed that I could take a photo of a person and a photo of like a blouse and put the blouse on the person
Yeah,
and have it look somewhat believable. And I'm going, oh my God, this is cool as all heck. Now it's a whole, just a short few months later, it's a whole other um leap. I wonder what the next leaps are going to look like. They're only going to get wider and faster in all across so many disciplines. Um, so I can't wait for us to cover as the weeks go by all these different changes and how and watch from the front row and almost like in the trenches ourselves how this is just changing all the time.
yeah, yeah. And even with the use of digital tools, AI to produce a lot of this content, uh, another dimension of human involvement that I think matters is the idea of storytelling. The storytelling with human provenance, and I think too. I've got like a bottle of whiskey back there. Uh, Mad River. I had a conversation about this Mad River whiskey with a friend of mine who is also he has a whiskey distillery, And the story I want to tell is the one about his distillery, and his whiskey. So his whiskey is Cheddarmark, and I think the part of the reason why his brand is really taking off, and it's a great product. I really enjoy his whiskey. The story behind a lot of the decisions that he makes. So he's a former Air Force guy, right? So he uses the same. I can't remember the name of it. It's like a wet oil-based pencil or something like that, and he writes on the barrels with with this writing device. The same thing that he used in the Air Force. He named his business for a code word that was used back when he was in Iraq. He's a lawyer. Part of the reason why so he worked in, I think, private equity law. Part of the reason why he decided to start this distillery was his realization one day that after closing a deal, a lot of folks would go out for a drink and say cheers and um, uh, have a nice drink to celebrate. If you watch Suits or you watch Mad Men, what do? They've got that whiskey cart in their office. After they close a deal, after something goes well, they have a drink to celebrate. He thought to himself, it'd be nice if I, I, I knew that there was something that was really good, made with really good ingredients from real farmers that are here concentrated in this area, that I could take pride in and drink that after these important moments in my life. So when I hear him telling his story whenever I visit his distillery, we go out for a drink. It's the story that really resonates with me,
Mhm.
and I think that that story, because there are so many stories from his life that are reflected in the decisions that he makes as a business, that regardless of how the content might be produced, and today he does, I think, zero AI content on his socials. But even if he were to use AI in his content on social using a Higgs field, I think that the authenticity, that human provenance, would still shine through. I don't think that it, it would be made less in any dimension by the use of AI. I think that the human provenance of his creation will shine through in even the AI generated social media content. So that's the
Mm.
stuff that I think matters the most. And the same thing with you. Like you've made a lot of these decisions in the course of your business, and like the story here with your content is how you woke up New Year's Day and you decided that you were going to create and you were going to learn how to do this. That story is a big part of the content as well, uh, and it's the two together that become compelling.
Absolutely. The origin story is what makes the superhero, right? Batman is
Yeah,
only Batman because some asshole shot his parents in front of his face. Superman is only Superman because, he crashed down into Earth and wanted to find a place to belong, wanted to protect the people who like embraced him. That piece, and when it comes to any creative, in a lot of ways, um, and not the tic tac type stuff that's on TikTok for like 8 seconds, but when it comes to that type of stuff, the taste in a lot of ways still matter. It's one thing to be able to use these tools. It's another thing to have, especially in our game, um, representing brands for paid media and also like, advising and consulting them for their organic media. You still need to have an eye for what would make the brand go, I'm okay putting this as a representation of my brand. You still need to have that eye. That still needs to be a human thing. The editing, you still need to have that human eye to go, Tilda Swinton's mouth just doesn't look right. To have that type of taste still matters more and more so, I think, moving forward, above all the sloppy, you know, baby talking like a grown up type AI TikTok videos that, yeah, they might go viral, um, just for the novelty of it, but in an actual production kind of use case of for whether it's working for brands or whether it's creating content for your own brand, whatever it might be, that eye still needs to exist. That ability to string together some type of narrative to appeal to the human mind, the human need for narrative, absolutely still there. The ability to get that narrative out there, that's the part that's so exciting.
Yeah.
And to help someone who isn't a copywriter but has the bones of it, has the desire to put something together, or a script writer, or someone who isn't purely creative. The
For
tools are
example, the
so
way you
available.
asked Gemini to generate the
Right.
prompt for Suno, you gave it
Right.
what you could, and
I
it
gave it a proxy.
built.
Exactly. Exactly. Those are all there. Everything you need. And in a lot of ways, there's a reason why The Matrix is a very apt.
Yes, I'm so
Right,
glad you
right,
picked that
right.
movie. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's so apt in so many ways, but that one shot where the arsenal of all the gun racks are just flying by. The
The
arsenal's here,
construct.
guys. Like, yeah, the construct. You can just load it up. It's there. But where you point your weapons and what
Yeah,
you do with them, that is still a human decision. But boy, are the tools there in so many ways. A non-creative person can put out stuff and along the way discover that they actually are a creative person, just in a different kind of way.
absolutely.
Now, I wouldn't go so far as to say if you're a non-illustrator, you're an illustrator. I wouldn't go so far as to say that, like actually being able to sit down, blank piece of paper and start drawing things. But y- along the way, you might go, hey, you know what? This illustration thing, I might actually be able to pick up and then go in that type of direction. Non-software, non-comp sci people, non-software engineers are not putting out apps just with the help of AI and putting them into production, putting them into the app store, and generating online money from it. So I'm very excited about this year because it's throwing the gates are thrown wide open. It really is for the taking for almost anyone who just has the curiosity, not even the expertise.
Yeah, yeah. The atomization of creativity, the atomization of like even a short film of like 3 minutes, that still requires a pretty substantial budget. You're still talking about all of the talent that's in there. You're still talking about people, plural, holding cameras. You're still talking about someone grinding away for over that 3 hours, probably 100 hours in post production. In terms of man hours, you might be looking at 500 hours in post production over a 3 minute video. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm off by like what 3x, 4x, something like that. But I'm not 10x off. And that's all changed right now already. The atomization of that 3 minute video. Uh, Anybody with creative vision and the humility to ask people around them for their feedback, to share your ideas, think about them, to ask AI, hop into Gemini and ask it, how would I structure this prompt? Which tools should I use? And then dive into Higgs Field. Have some fun with it. I signed up for Higgs Field too. I hit the annual subscription button by accident. It was a 12 plus 12 button, but it also came with unlimited generations with their video model, which I appreciated. So, given the amount of extra cycles, all these extra re-renders that need to be done, I figured that would be
Unlimited
helpful.
lives.
Yeah, unlimited lives.
Unlimited lives. You play the game very differently. And then you can apply your own self constraints like time. How 24 hours. Let's just put something out there. Come hell or high water, you have to finish by that time. You have to put something out. Now, with the unlimited lives, you just go click, 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 click. And you have, while I'm here,
Yeah,
let's lock in and let's make this thing happen. It's, yeah. And then the learning to go, no unlimited lives because I have to use another platform, but now it can do stuff in my sleep. when
Yeah.
I'm not sitting there manually doing it. So fun. Oh my God, fun times ahead.
And this idea of atomization happens within enterprise as well. Certainly, it's happening inside the biggest companies that are kind of super loading their top individuals that are using AI. So, an engineer that uses AI is being loaded with more responsibility than the
Mhm.
engineers that didn't, and so you're getting much more out of a denser group of people. The the like Timbaland, music producer, he is super loading himself with AI and unlimited lives through the use of Suno or other music generation tools. I think that and so if we think about this kind of music industry, they're also seeing much more like this massive concentration on a very small number of people. So I think inside of enterprise, we're seeing the super loading, the concentration of productivity on smaller and smaller groups of people, which means a lot of people will be pushed out of the organizations very soon. And the consequence of that is that could this be a terrible thing? Possibly not. I'd like to take an optimist stance on this. The people who are pushed out are then empowered by the atomization of creativity, the atomization of starting a business, the atomization of writing a book, the atomization of producing a short film. All of this is atomized to the point where they, as a single unit, can create something of value to others that brings a smile to someone, that gets someone to pay $10, that builds a following on Instagram or X or TikTok, where people are subscribing to your series, your series of content. We had on this podcast, on the Boss Mode podcast, Chang Kim, who sold his business for over $500 million, right? He built this entire content marketplace, Tapas Media, which took this webtoon concept. So it's not like your comic books in America that required like they were a little bit bigger production value. It's not your novels. It's not your these were like individual artists that were producing these kind of very rapid iteration, serialized productions that were coming out every single week or sometimes multiple times a week. Uh, and and so that industry became atomized a little bit. And now we're going to be able to atomize it even further, making
Mm,
it possible for that same type of creator to come in and maybe instead of making a web comic, now they are making web movies.
100%.
Exciting times. 2026 is the year. Um, unlimited lives, unlimited lives. Go get it, guys.
Exactly. What would you do with unlimited lives? Are you going to play the game and push the boundaries? Or are you just going to sit in your chair? Because that's a really boring game.
I love this. Dee, I'm so happy that we talked about this idea of unlimited lives with AI here on the Boss Mode podcast today. It was a blast. I hope you have a wonderful, rolling, ongoing start to 2026. Happy New Year, and see
Yeah.
you in a week.
Let's go get it.
Let's go. Dude, that was
Now, a quick word from our sponsor. Bringing my vision into reality requires focus. But the reality for an entrepreneur is that there's just so much work to be done: finance, customer support, and marketing. Vanka AI is the agentic co-founder that cuts the mundane out of the founder's day-to-day. If you're a founder or business operator who values your time, you really need to sign up right away at www.vanka.ai.